Hello, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for coming back. As always, huge massive thank you for the support. I really do appreciate it. So first things first, before I get stuck into this collection, I just need to announce the winner of the magazine. You remember I said I had a spare magazine, which was the last sort of set of videos I did. And I put all of the names onto a piece of paper, assigned them a random number, did the random number generator, and it came up with Caroline Watty. So I'm hoping Caroline was wanting to be included in that magazine draw. If she doesn't, then obviously we can redraw it. But if you are wanting to receive that magazine, if you can either contact me on Facebook by direct message, or send a message, put a message on this video, and I'll find some other way of contacting you to arrange that to get posted out to you as quick as I can. So well done and congrats for that. So I'm going to get started now on the Everlasting Poppies. So you will already see some cards, you would have seen some cards that I've made, and there was a sneak peek of this, but now I want to work through the kit properly, or more fully. So this one is the Forever and Always. So we've got two sort of big shaped toppers. We've got a shaped sentiment with a sort of rhyme on. All my love, forever and always, wishing you a lifetime of love, laughter and happiness. We've got three beautiful button poppies toppers, the foiled border and the poppy on its own. Also got the printed cardstock, which has this poppy corner in both corners, so that makes that really, really useful. We've got the foiled cardstock with the poppies along here, and the one on the end as well, the bigger one. Again, that makes that super useful, especially for somebody like me who likes to make 6x6. You know, that's instantly two gorgeous cards there. Also got the insert. I've teamed up with this one because it has that same shape. I've got one of the papers, I'm going to be using that today, and I've got a little bit of an offcut from one of the foiled acetates that goes with this set. If you haven't got the foiled acetate, you can just use plain, or you could use vellum if you prefer. You know, there's 100 different ways to do the same thing. Okay, so I'm going to do that one first. So let's just move those near the top. Okay, and they're both going to be 6x6 cards today. So let's start by bringing in the trimmer. Bringing in a piece of 6x12 300 GSM cardstock, and because I'm going to do a cutaway card first, just love doing a cutaway card, especially with this shape of topper. So I'm going to cut that at 8 inches, and then I'll just take, let's turn that around actually, and take that to 2 inches. So that will go into the bit box. What I can do while I'm here as well is just take this piece of acetate, just going to cut it to just about half a notch under the 6. All of these little pieces just go back in the little file that I keep them in. And I'm just going to cut this to 3 inches. So it gives me half an inch each side. Again, that piece will go back in. You never know when I'm just going to need a piece, but that will if we put that there, that will bring that back together quite nicely when we put our folds in. So let's grab the scoreboard and my score tool, and all I need to do is just score 2 inches. And then that's going to make my base card 6 inches, and we've got the start of our flap. So if I give that a really nice burnish down, and just check my measurements are good, so making sure this is gold side up for me, and then that will fit onto there quite nicely. Okay, so we need a red liner tape, and I need to go close to the edge but not quite on it, because I I do still want that nice white edge on my cards, and even though the topper will go over it, we don't want to hide it. So just making sure I don't go too long and I don't go too close. So I'm just going to line that back up and pop that down. I'm going to risk it for a biscuit. I think that is going to be fine. And then this piece is super easy to stick down because all you do is take that red backing off. Make sure that's lined up with the base of your card. And then just close that up. And that's going to stick onto there quite nicely. And there is no sort of right or wrong way with this acetate. It's got poppies going in both directions. Now what I am going to do, just while I've got the scissors out, is just take 2 more pieces of red liner tape. And I pretty much want to go over where I was before. And to be honest, there is enough card here to be gluing that topper on with my normal glues, but I just don't want it to sort of peel up at the edges there. So that's why I just put a little bit on there, but it's optional, this bit. Okay, so there's our card reconstituted. You can see at the moment it's still a little floppy, but it still stands nicely. You know, you can do all the things with it that you normally would. So let's start thinking about some mats and layers. Now for the inside, because we are going to be seeing that inside, I'm going to take a gold Mary mat, a 6x6 one, and I'm just going to take 2 notches or 1/8 of an inch off of that. And I will be putting the insert on there, the plain side. I'm not going to try and match up that. If I bring that in with the insert, where was it? I'm not going to try and match that up in the centre of my card, so let's say with where I'm going to put the topper, because I think that's just going to be too difficult. So it's just going to be this lovely pink coming through, although you could use one of your papers if you prefer, but I'm not with this one. And then for these 2 pieces here, if I take 2 notches off of 6 inches, and then if I go 2 notches under the 2 notches under the 2, and while I've got this piece here, I'm going to take this to 2 notches under the 2. I'm not going to be using this on this card, but I am going to be using it on the second one. It just made sense while I've got that there, just to give that to bring that into where I want that to be. Okay, and then I'm going to use the foiled cardstock for this one. So we've got the luxury foiled acetate, so I'm going with the luxury foiled card as well. And what I'm going to do, I want this foil to be sort of pretty much in the middle. So I'm going to cut this at, I'm going to go at 3 inches. And then I'm going to turn that around and do that at 1 3/4. So now I've got that nice piece that's going to go at the top. I've got another piece there that I can use on another card. And then this piece here, I need to just turn that way around. This is going to go on the bottom, and that's 1 3/4. Now I'm leaving that plain, although it has got a pattern in it of these sort of beautiful, I think they are poppies in shadow form on there, but I'm going to be leaving it plain. But you could still come in and emboss that if you wanted to. Sorry about the creaky chair, I have got plans to get it sorted today after this video. Okay, and then because this paper cuts better on the trimmer, just for the inside, I'm cutting a piece that's 5 3/4 square. And you can see it's a beautiful linen texture to that one. So let's pop that out of the way and put that one down, and then we can start to assemble. Okay, so we'll start with the back. Just find once you've got the back on with that bit of colour in the background, it does help you place the top layers. So the glues I'm going to be using on the cardstock, I'm going to be using the all-purpose glue and the tacky in the corners. And on the paper, like the insert, and on the second card, I'm going to be using some of the printed papers from the insert pack, because there's an insert and printed papers. I'm going to be using the dotty tape pen on the corners instead. And we can just give that a little float into place. And then when I'm happy, just press onto those corners. And I am just going to give that a good press all the way around, just to stop any of that glue pooling and creating any sort of hard lumps that would be difficult to write on. But now we can see that coming through, so that just helps us work with this next piece. Now, for this bit, what I like to do when I remember is to make a little tail with that, so that will be poking up. Come in with those two glues on this side, and both of these glues do work well. I just have got this combination of working with both of them, and it works for me. So it's a bit like a lucky sock, do you know what I mean? You don't like to change things if it works. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, do you know what I mean? Okay, so we'll put that on. I still can see that little white border that I like. Might go a little bit that way. There we go. Now when I'm happy, I can pop that off. And that's going to be solid. And then before I pop the topping on there, I'm going to do the gold piece on here as well. Again, just make that little tail. Those two glues. And again, just float that into place. And then pop that off when I'm happy. And then if I just make sure I turn that around the right way, just want to make sure I've got these with their stalks going downwards, I think. Is it that way? I think it's that way, although it's very difficult to tell, so it probably wouldn't matter. But we can just go back to our normal glues and pop that on. Okay, and then that one goes on to there again, just using those normal glues now. It's only where that acetate is that we need to use that red liner tape, or that I need to use it for my own peace of mind. But that's going to be our reconstituted card, and you can see already with that foil on there, you could just have a sentiment, a large sentiment, and that would look pretty cool, but we are not leaving it there. No siree, Bob. So let's pop out, and I decided to go with this white framed one because we've got those quite dark colours there, plus the dark centre there. I think I'm going to go with maybe All My Love, because I think that's going to stand out quite nicely at the bottom there. And then maybe we'll take one of these little white poppies. That's the plan. Well, we'll be playing around with the frames and things, so let's see what looks best on this one. So just checking all of those little pips where the card was connected. Just pop that out, and you can see there's no right or wrong way. You don't have to have it one way or the other. You could have the flowers coming in up and down in that corner, or you could have them up and down sort of vertically or horizontally is what I'm trying to say. So just taking this middle frame out, because obviously the whole point of a card like this is to have that little bit of space between, and I'm kind of thinking I can either go with it going across from there to there, which means I'm going to have a nice big space across here. We'll turn that around and we could have it going across that way with those there, or I could do it the other way. So we could have that white frame going almost top to bottom, turn that around that way, and then have that going like that way. And it's difficult because I do like both ways. Let me just try one more look at that way, because initially this is my plan, was to do it that way. Okay, I think I'm going to go that way, just because I think quite often I do it the other way, but it's quite nice to have these poppies coming through the side. But these, like I say, that could be horizontal or vertical too, so that's quite cool to have a topper where you can do that. But let's just, my scissors, there's just a little annoying pip I can see there and there. And there, just remembering that I'm going that way. Let me just double check that one. We are good. Okay, so let's grab some 2mm foam pads, and I'm going with 2mm on both of these. So I think I'm going to have to cut these down, so let's just grab scissors and go across like so. Just, and I'm not going to put any foam pads where that acetate is. I'm going to try and avoid having them showing through. If I do have to have one on the centre of that big topper, which sometimes it does need that extra little bit of support, what I will do is hide it with one of the other smaller toppers in the kit. But the frame should be fine on its own. Oops, always has been in the past. And that's it there. Let's just move those out of the way. I'll come in with some purple glue stick, which is perfect for just giving me a little bit of slidability on these. If you are going directly onto the acetate though, you really just have to risk it for a biscuit and do it one time, sort of one, because there isn't anything that makes the foam pads slidey on acetate that I know of anyway. Oops. What I'm trying to do is just get an equal sort of space between those two, and kind of get that straight. Let's grab my little ruler, my little T-square ruler. Nice if Hunkydory did one of these, so I could have one with a H on or a Hunkydory on. That would be quite cool, especially if it was a smaller one. But I do seem to be getting there with all the different tools and things. Okay, so this one, I think it is going to need at least one little pad on the centre. So what I'm going to do is just grab and just going to take one of these little circle ones, and I think if I just put one sort of small, yeah, that's going to be fine. So I can just put that in the centre. And then what I think I'm going to do is just pop. So I'm not going any higher than that first frame. And I think I should be able to go, if I just keep that quite nice and tight. These ones I might just cut down a little. Let's just double check that. Yeah. Put that one there. Yep, they're all done. So because these ones are on my project, what I'm going to do is just use a little bit of tacky glue. Although saying that, because of that one in the centre, that's pretty much going to limit. But it doesn't have to. If you wanted to, rather than sticking that down and losing your sort of movability, you can leave the back on because it's only there as a support. But I think what I will do is just take it off and just line up those points there in the centre. Not press too hard. I think we are there. And then just because I can see that just a tiny little bit, and it's only a tiny little bit, just going to grab my little tape runner just for quickness, and I'm putting it the right way up for as if you're opening the card, so it's just there as a little extra. Okay, and then we're going to have these onto here, I think, or maybe we could just go there and have a little spray. So we'll leave that one off, change my mind about that one as I so often do. And we're going to pop two 2mm foam pads on here. Just gonna pop that on and down, and then what we can do is grab our little gems and if I can get them to stay on there, two, that's a small one, that's that size. That's the wrong size, so now we just need to find that size and then a small one. Okay, and what I'm going to do is just put those quite a nice spaced outline, she says, not putting any at the top, so this is going to be an even number of gems, which is a rare occasion for me. Needs to go closer. About there should be good. And we'll just pop, and it only takes just a little bit of glue to hold those in place. That is a little bit further down. And that glue does dry clear. But that is going to be our first card. I do think that needs to go down a little further, just because there is quite a bit of glue there. Oops, I'm going to drop my little teeny tiny dauber. This is not a Hunkydory one, this one is a Carnation Crafts. There we go, that's fine. And we just need to leave that to settle now, but that's card number 1. I'm just going to get set up for card number 2. Okay, so for card number 2, I bought in 2 pieces of 300 GSM white cardstock. And what I'm going to do is just take one of them. Actually, I've got an extra piece there. Let me just put that to the side. And I'm just going to cut it at 2 inches. That's all I need out of this second piece. That's there. Put that one there for now. Then if I bring in my scoreboard, I'm going to start by scoring this piece at 6 inches, like so. Actually, move those out of the way. And then this one, I'm going to score at 3 and 6. And then because I've got the smaller board, I'm scoring at 1, 2 and 4. So basically, if I turn it back around, I've got a space that's 3 inches, 3 inches, 2 inches, 2 inches, 1 inch, 1 inch. And I'm going to make what's actually called like a faux stepper. So that's where we're going with this one. Haven't done this one for a while, but might be nice. Other card shapes that really look good with this one are just like normal steppers with one going above. Any kind of stepper really is really great for those, as well as the obviously the square ones. What's going to happen is this is going to come over the top. Just turn that the other way, like so. And then we're going to have our topper on top. So let's grab the trimmer. And you remember when I said with that last card there was 2 inches left over, and I just did 2 notches under the 6 by 2 notches under the 2. That's that ready-made mat for that one. Okay, so let's grab another piece of gold mirror, just because all the foil in this kit is gold. And we're going to take that 2 notches or 1/8 off, and then I can turn it around and do 2 notches. Actually, let's do the smaller ones first of all. We'll do 2 notches under the 1, 2 notches under the 2, and 2 notches under the 3. And those are going to be the mats on our steps. Okay. Then I've got the paper, printed paper, and I might bring that in, and then the printed cardstock as well. But what I'm going to do, if I just pop those to the side, is I'm just going to take this and cut this at 5 3/4. And I'm going to cut a piece that's 3/4 of an inch. And a piece that is 2 3/4. Which means I've still got this piece left, so it means I can still cut around that and have that as a raised corner. So those are the pieces that are going to go into there. And then I'm going to go with my original plan. I'm not going to use that piece, but I'm going to take a piece that's going to be 1 3/4, and that's going to be by 5 3/4. And I want the poppy side on that one, so that's going to be on that inside there for a bit of interest. And then I want another piece that's going to be 1 3/4, and that's going to be by 5 3/4. And this is going to be the green side. So this is what I love about double-sided papers. And that's going to go on our piece here that we're going to pop our topper and things onto. So let's pop that out the way. We should have all of our pieces now. If you wanted to, rather than using this printed one, you could use that edge-to-edge foil depending on how much you had left over on it. Okay, let's start with this piece. And I am going to have to be bringing in my dotty tape pen. The dotty tape pen with the papers at least, so but we will do those in a second. So let's come in with the cardstock. We can go straight onto there, and because I'm planning on taking away that middle section of my my topper, just have that bit of fresh air, as I say, coming through. This is why we're putting some decoration on here. Again, just some dotty tape pen on the corners. And that beautiful green. Again, if you haven't got these papers, you could be using your adorable scoreable. You could be embossing that adorable scoreable with some kind of a leaf embossing folder if you've got one. That's those pieces there. Then let's decorate this up. So let's start with this front piece. Just because it's a smaller piece and it's already sort of flexing, I'll use that dotty tape pen on it. And we're just going to pop that on into there. Again, could be embossing this. It's up to you. You could be using the other glue as well. It's up to you on how you want to pop these on. All works. Just get that into place and then press down. I want this one next. So remembering to skip out that next piece. We want our Gold Mary mat. And at the moment the plan is, the video plan in my little head, apart from special ones, is going to be to work through this kit and then to work through the, is it Enchanted Glades? It's confused me because both of these kits, the last two kits that have come out, both start with the, I think this one's Everlasting and the other one's Enchanting. Just plays havoc with my brain. That one's in there. But that's what we're going to be doing after that. That's the plan at the moment. Things may change. There is going to be still some special ones. I did film the stepper video I said I was going to do. I did film that yesterday, but I'm going to put that up on Saturday. So it may be sort of an extra video at the weekends. That might be the plan moving forward. It did go quite well, I have to be honest. There was only one little thing I wasn't happy with, but it will give you the idea of how to make that card. And actually it's quite similar to this one in some ways. That is going to be, and you can see already that is, it's got a nice bit of contrast in it. This one's gone for a wander. Let me just pick that up. Blue dots should allow me to just move that down a little. You're not going to see a lot of it anyway, but it's better for me if it's straight. Okay, so now we're going to bring in again our fabulous red liner tape. Just going to cut 2 small pieces, and then bear in mind that the back of this is going to be up to that height, so it's a slightly longer piece, but that the front where this is sticking down on here is only this 1 inch, so that one needs to go across. And obviously I'll put some tacky glue on as well. If you are, let me just show you, if you are worried about where you want to put this topper, what you can do in terms of space and things, let me just pop it out and bring that back. So if I pop out the frame, what you can always do is pop that on beforehand, and then you can be popping this onto your card saying, oh, do I want that? So you could stick that down, sorry, excuse me, stick that down, put your 2mm or 1mm on, whatever you're going to do, and then you can say, oh, do I want that more to that left hand side? Do I want it more to the right? You know, obviously making sure I'm getting it in the envelope. In this case it's going in the middle, so I don't need to do that. I can work that through at the end. But what I'm going to do, just to make this easy for myself, I want it to be almost dead set in the center. So I'm popping my card like so. I'm going to open this piece out, pop a little bit of tacky glue. I can fold it over. Actually, I might do it this way. It's going to be a bit easier if I do it this way. And what I want is for this to be on that 2 inch line. And I can pop that down like so. And then if I take this piece off, pop a little bit of tacky just on those ends. Just making sure I'm happy with that. And then I can just close that up nicely. And that should be all nice and straight. If it's not, you do just get a tiny little bit of wiggle room time, but not too much. But that's going to be that stepper, and it's going to keep it all together. Now, of course, you could go into the middle step if you wanted to, maybe have smaller steps at the side. Those are all options, but it's just however you want that to go. But the important thing is to make sure that that's all flat when it's lying down, just so you can get it in the envelope. Okay, and then what we're going to do is come in with our pieces. So let's just plot this out. We've got our beautiful flower there. I think I might come in with Forever and Always with this one. And we might have that coming over the top there. And then if I pop maybe that one up there. Probably got one on the other sheet if I wanted to. Or I could come in with the border across there. I don't think I'm going to. Or we could go with the border across the back. Let me just see, does that need something to... Yeah, I think it does. So we're still going with that layout, pretty much. Maybe changing on that little one. But if I grab my little guillotine, if I snip this little border out, again, you could be using any of those off cuts of card, especially that foiled poppy field which is edge to edge foiled. It's just the most beautiful piece of cardstock I've ever seen in my life. And we're just going to take that 2, 5 and 3/4. Again, we'll keep that because we might need that later on. I'm going to take that across the back just for a little bit of interest, and it will go flat. So we'll do that piece first of all. I think I'll just use some tacky glue on that. Just need a bit of those corners. Is there a right or a wrong way? I think it does look better that way. I'm just going to pop that on like so. And if I just use the lines on the mat to guide me, I think we're about there. Okay, for this one, I think it's a little bit of a wider frame. So I just want one foam pad either side of that point. Sorry, my nose is starting to run. So if I start sniffing, I do apologise. Not quite sure why I'm sort of hay feverish. And then this one, again, I'm going 2mm. I'm just gonna pop those straight down the centre. That's all we're going to need. I'll leave those 2 for now. So we can take these off. And obviously I've done this as a 6x6, but you could take this bigger. So you could still do the same folds, the 3x2, 3, 3, 2, 2, 1, 1. But you could take this strut to the 14x2 to have it wider. I think we just need to be about there, or even 2x16 and have it 8x. I don't know why I decided to do tacky glue on this piece, but there you go. Popping that in, so I'm leaving that middle piece out as I so often do. That's going to be quite nicely there. Now I do want this coming up over the edge, so I'm going to just trim this foam pad down a little. And then just on the bottom, you can put it on the card if you want to. I'm not even going to bother with a bit of glue on that. Again, with this one, I'm going to take, actually we should go with a bit of a bigger foam pad, I think. Yeah, I think one should fit on there. These are 1x1 centimetre foam pads. Next time I buy them, they're probably going to be like 2x2. Just going to get that the right way up. I'm going to pop that onto there. And then all we need is going to be some nice gems. Now I did have some red ones sort of ready in this, but I think they will be too hidden. We could go with white pearls or some clear ones. Let's go with some clear ones for a change. These are gems that would have come from Temu. I'm just gonna pop one down that side, a slightly smaller one on this side, and then we will carry it on by going for one there. And then what I think I will do is bring in these ones. Just take the teeny tiny red. So there's no reason why you can't mix up your gemstones. And pop those in there. And that is going to be that second card. Now, let's just grab that. Now the downside of it is you are going to have to be quite careful when you're writing in it. You will be able to hold it up like so, and I will put an insert in here, but it is going to be not as easy as some other cards. But that is how it looks as a faux stepper. It's quite cute. Haven't made one like that for a while. That's that card number 2. And then if I just bring back in that first one, there we go, we've got our cutaway card there. You could also do a cutaway where you've just got the centre panel. I kind of find they tend to sit a bit forward, which is the bit that sort of puts me off them, but it definitely would work for that shape of topper. But that's it for me today. So next time, oh no, I haven't shown you what's left over, have I? Which is a bit mean. So we've got that little bit of border there. We've still got this shaped topper with the poem on, or the words on. We've got a sentiment. We've got this little poppy one there. We have got lots of cardstock because we've used that paper. So we've still got half of that and that other corner. And I think there is another foiled piece. Oh, there it is. I thought it had gone down the back of my computer. But we've still got that piece there. I mean, that in itself could just be a beautiful card. Pretty much probably will be. But that is the Forever and Always. I'm going to come back with another set from this next time. Like I say, we'll work our way through this kit. It is a beautiful kit. I'm going to put all the links up for you, etc. And don't forget, of course, Caroline, you are the winner of that magazine. But that's it. Enjoy the rest of birthday week. Not much left to go now. It's nearly over. Be interesting to see what event they have for us next week, if it's something as exciting as this. There is some lovely dies that I saw with Craig at the weekend, so I can't wait for those to come. I think they were called Squovals. They were on Hobby Maker on Sunday if you missed them, or it might have been Saturday. It was with Craig anyway. So it'd be interesting to see what comes next week. Always something to look forward to with Hunkydory though, isn't there? But until next time, happy crafting. Bye.